Hello, welcome to When Wrestlers Act. I'm John Cronshaw, and I'm back with Colin. How you doing, Colin?
Fair to middling, I'd say. Yourself?
Yeah, that's a good one. I'm great. Yeah. No, I'm fine. I'm all right.
Are you high on life? Have you been pulling at your strands?
No, I'd say more on Sudafed and paracetamol.
That's true.
We are continuing to watch The Glow, aren't we?
We are indeed.
Okay,
this second episode was interesting.
Yes. So it didn't have John Morrison in this time, because I think basically they made a pilot and then he must have gone, oh no, sorry, I'm doing stuff with Impact now.
I wonder if now he's signed back with WWE, he's going to be Johnny SmackDown.
No, it'll be John Morrison, and they'll do exactly the same thing, and it'll be exactly the same, and it'll be just slotted in the mid-card, maybe chasing after that R-Truth title.
I still can't think of John Morrison without thinking of that cunt when we saw PCW.
I know exactly who you mean, the fan. The super fan.
The only fan.
Yes. Oh my god. Yeah, he was special.
He was a bit odd, wasn't he?
He loved John Morrison.
Oh, so does John Morrison.
It's his excited little clap. Yay, it's John Morrison. So this was the second episode of The Glow, and because it's a Netflix show, it's just a random length, so this one was about 30 minutes. Last one was about 20.
32, actually.
32, there you go. Mm. This was a continuation from the last one. You have the start of it, and Ruth, remember Ruth from last time, the central character, the one who, will she get the job? Won't she get the job? She gets the job, and arrives at the wrestling gym, and there's a limo, and there's one of the other wrestling ladies, and she hasn't got any shoes because she's been at some party, and she makes some snipey comment about Ruth's shoes. It was a bit odd.
Yeah, but she's so wacky.
Yeah, he is wacky.
They've established that character.
They did a few character establishing things in this one. There were a few characters that didn't establish in this one, who will no doubt be established over the next few episodes, because it is an ensemble cast.
What, the lovely Kate Nash is an ensemble?
Yeah, she's not been established yet. Her character's not been fleshed out.
That's fine, she don't need a character.
Yeah, so she goes in the gym anyway, and they're practicing, and Sam, remember Sam? Sam returns.
Is he the moustache man?
Yes.
Yes.
And he seems a bit hungover, maybe a bit being on drugs, and he doesn't even know who he's hired, so he wants to know who the girls are, so he gets them to introduce themselves. And because it's an ensemble cast, we only get an introduction of, 3 of them, really?
Yep.
Luckily, the first one to introduce herself is Melanie Rose.
Melrose.
Yeah, who is the one who was snipey to Ruth. And, I don't know, would you describe her as skanky? Is that a fair description of her?
I don't know, I think I'd more describe her as in this age of Me Too, I would like to describe her as punchable, but I can't.
I think you're okay punching women. I think it's just sexual assault that's bad.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, in that case, I found her very punchable.
Yeah. Would you describe her as basically a starfucker? Is that her kind of her thing? Because she says, I can wake up in the morning with nothing to do and find myself in a Van Halen video by the end of the day.
Maybe, unless she's just trying to say, look at me, I'm so kooky, like a student.
Sam comes out with a great line of, yeah, I really dig the whole objectify me vibe.
Yeah, I like that.
And then we get briefly introduced to Sheila, who is a wolf lady.
Is she the crap goth?
She's a wolf lady.
Right, okay.
Because if you remember later on, she's telling Ruth, how to act submissive and cover your muzzle, and she's a wolf, Colin.
I understand now. That makes perfect sense. Yeah. Although she does have that great sense of smell gimmick.
It's because she's a wolf, Colin.
It is. Can wolves do that? I mean, you're from Wolverhampton.
Well, yeah, wolves have got a good sense of smell, haven't they? I mean, I don't know about the footballers. Can't speak for them. Yeah.
I thought Wolverhampton.
They certainly can't smell a championship. I don't know. Are they doing well? I don't even know. It could be like top of the Premier League, and I'll be like,
somewhere towards the bottom end of the Premier League, but they're in the Premier League.
Ooh, wherever West Brom are, they ain't.
They're above West Brom.
Yay, have that West Brom. Boo.
Yeah.
Rivals.
I'll make a note of that when I go on my visit to West Brom office in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, you've just got to go, fuck off West Brom, the Wolves. That'll show them.
And say, up the baggies. Oh no, that's the thing that I don't do.
No, do it both. It doesn't matter. Make a lot of friends, make a lot of enemies.
Make a few frenemies.
So this is where Ruth steps up to do her thing, and she does. What is it she does? I think it was Audrey Hepburn's Oscar acceptance speech?
Yeah.
That was a bit weird.
It was a bit upsetting.
And then Sam says, oh, where's your friend? And she's a bit weird, and she doesn't go, oh, no, that was a mix-up. She kind of plays along and goes, oh, yeah, she planned the whole thing.
It was when everyone was sort of accusing her of being a home wrecker, including the one wrestler who we can use as the gimmick for When Wrestlers Act, Kia Stevens.
Yeah.
Because she called her a home wrecker.
So this is where we get Sam in the toilets, in the women's locker room. He's on coke. Whoa. We find out just a little brief thing of John Morrison's fired, by the way. You won't be seeing him again. You know, just a that happened off screen for some reason. Don't know why.
Because they got WWE script writers?
Probably, yeah. Or he had another job. Cherry, she's pissed off. And we find out a bit of backstory, don't we, about Cherry and Sam.
Sam had his wicked way with Cherry, but in an Alan Partridge and whatever she's called sense of the word, he borrowed her from they had a threesome, basically. I'm just trying to come up with some euphemisms and crap, and it's late and I've had a long day.
Okay, well, speaking of crap euphemisms, so Cherry is upset, and I don't know whether it's related to the thing that happened with Sam, but basically she says, oh, you've not spoken to me since, what happened. And he's a bit awkward, and he goes, yeah, the womb goof. Which is
womb goof.
Yeah, which is a bad euphemism for a miscarriage.
Yeah, I thought that was an odd one.
And, oh no, Melanie, remember Melanie, the skanky one? Yeah, the one from the Van Halen videos. She's in the toilet listening.
But she's pretending to not listen. She's actively saying, I'm not listening.
Yeah.
And all stuff like that.
For you. So at least that won't play into anything later.
No, that would just be too easy. Yeah. Oh, actually, wait a minute.
Speaking of easy. Yeah. Sam says to Cherry, look, I want you to be the trainer. John Morrison's gone. And Cherry doesn't actually know how to wrestle, so she gets Carmen, who's the woman who looks a bit like a hamster, to show her the wrestling moves. She's the one, if you remember last week, who had the family who is wrestlers.
And who Sam sometimes just refers to her as Legacy. Yeah.
They do wrestling stuff. Meanwhile, Sam goes to see Debbie. Remember Debbie?
I do remember Debbie. Debbie does breastfeeding.
Yes. And the first scene we see of her is her getting a tit bitten by a baby. So, yeah. So last week we had cunt punching. This week we've got tit biting. It's very violent, isn't it, Colin?
It is.
You were saying you don't want to watch Game of Thrones, and, this is worse. More disturbing than anything on there. They turn up anyway, and he basically goes there to try and convince her to join up with the wrestling. Cut back, get Ruth and Melanie in the ring, working together. She starts doing, really stupid karate moves.
Oh, yeah, she does. She does the crane technique.
Yeah.
And then Ruth... she attacks Ruth, and Ruth puts her down with a beautifully applied sleeper hold, and it's just one of those where she's talking and you see Gene Liddell do on YouTube.
Yeah, that was Cherry who did that.
Ah.
So Melanie had the thing of, this is fake, rubbish, blah blah, and then Cherry chokes her out with a sleeper hold. So fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I was halfway there. I'm crap my games. You should see me at work. How long did it take me to learn your game?
So we cut back to Sam at Debbie's house, and he's trying to convince her to be the lead. And she says, oh, what about Ruth? And he's, oh, fuck her. So that's good. She's going. The star of the show, the main character we've been following, she's out. So that's good to know. She won't be back. So this is where we get them smoking weed for some reason.
Well, it's because they're all badass.
Yeah, and Ruth is talking about how it's great that Cherry's now the trainer because then it means it's like a sisterhood and they're all women together. And Melanie says, "Oh, is that why you fucked your friend's husband?" Burn.
She's not very nice, that Melanie. Do you know when I said that she was punchable? I'm starting to think that she's cunt punchable.
Oh, God. Not tip biteable.
Not tip biteable.
Okay.
And we're off the air.
It's alright, I'm writing all these down to search on there. Pornhub later. So. I'm not. Let's clarify that. 2019 got that.
No, you go for one of those search engines like IXXX.
Is that one?
Yeah, it used to be Tube Kitty. Okay.
Sorry, you lost me there with your obscure porn references, Colin. I'm not as deep in the.
Yeah, you only like mainstream.
I'll have you know I prefer the B-sides. I only like that early work.
What? Pornhub with a foreign language translator.
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, if you do it through VPN anyway, it usually goes foreign. Yeah.
Okay.
That's my excuse.
Melanie's nicked a ketchup bottle.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. That's just she's obviously a skank and steals stuff. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't see how that could possibly play into things.
No.
I suspect that she's not going to perform any sort of prank whatsoever.
No. Speaking of which, back in the ring, and Melanie says that she's learned a lesson. She really wants to. What's the word she used? Step it up. Really
Work
push
hard.
herself. Yeah. And then we get her in the ring, and Cherry's like, "Okay, then, yeah, cool. Come in the ring. We'll have a wrestle."
They're doing break falls.
Yeah, so they're doing flat back bumps and that stuff. And then Melanie is hurt. She looks hurt, doesn't she?
She does.
She pretends to have a miscarriage, doesn't she?
I guess so. Whenever they do pranks with lots of ketchup is quite a smelly ingredient.
Yeah, so there's ketchup involved in she's had a miscarriage prank. And then she does...
Where did she obtain the ketchup, John? She stole it from that thing.
Yeah.
But we didn't think it was going to play into anything.
Oh, okay, yeah. Did you hear the line where she says, "How am I going to tell Adamant I had a womb goof?" Yeah.
Yeah.
She
Lovely
brought the line back, the womb goof line, which is...
Womb goof. I noticed that at the time.
Yeah. So Sam arrives with Debbie. He's wondering what the hell's going on. And Debbie sees Ruth, freaks out. She's pissed off. She's pissed off at Sam. And she's like, "Oh, you lied to me, blah, blah, blah." And he's like, "It's not about the lie. It's about what the lie can become." And then Sam's just like, "What the hell's going on with the Cherry and Melanie stuff?" And Sam is kind of into it, and he gets her to redo it. And Sam says, "What kind of horrible woman would do such a thing? What kind of home wrecker? What kind of vile creature?" And he goes, "I know, Ruth."
Ruth, get in the ring.
Yeah. And he's giving a motivation, but he's also insulting. He's like, "You're a terrible person. You're a horrible human being. You don't deserve to live." She's like, "Yes, I do." Yeah. And then, so it's basically turned into a wrestling angle. And he gets her to kick her and all this stuff.
And it's the worst kick as well.
Yes. Yeah, so she ends up and she falls down and has another miscarriage, and Sam comes out with a line of, "Now that's a fucking miscarriage." Which...
Yeah, that was a bit awkward.
Yeah. Which, upsets Cherry, who actually did have a miscarriage. He's obviously insensitive and an opportunistic character, I think we're finding out. He does turn up to speak to Cherry and says, "Look, I'll do what's best for the film. I'm a director. It's all about, getting the best out of my actors." He says, "Being so you're in a role where you're going to be performing and training, I'm going to have to double your pay." So, actually, he's not such a bad man, because he sees that, okay, I need to treat this person well.
Yes, he sees her worth, and he also sees that he's pissed her off.
She's not sure, so we won't see her again. That's her probably at the series. And then we get the final scene, which is basically Ruth being told that she's going to be a great villain, that she is the devil.
I don't want to be the devil.
But the devil gets the best lines. That's kind of the setup then, isn't it? You've got Debbie as the hero, the baby face, the all-American sweetheart, and then you get Ruth, who's the evil villain setup. So it's good. It's playing on real life, and there's a lot of real emotion involved, a lot of animosity. So he can use that and hopefully bring the best out of his lady wrestler performers.
I look forward to episode 3. The chart still stays in the draw.
Yeah. Yeah. You happy with that one?
I am, but episode 3 needs to show me something. I mean, it's all very touchy-feely at this stage. It's all still very much establishing everything, so yeah. I'm waiting for the story to start to unfurl a little. So far, so good.
You didn't think it was too much with the miscarriage storyline throughout?
No. It went a bit far, but I thought, yeah, whatever. It's one of those that's trying to shock, so let's just let it go.
Do you think it's one of those things where it's like, okay, we'll put this up front, and then if you can kind of stomach that, you'll be all right with the rest of the series?
It could well be, yeah. I mean, that sort of thing I have no experience of, not having a womb or been involved with anyone who's had a miscarriage. But at the same time, I can see a lot of people being pissed off by it.
Yeah. I've had friends and stuff who've had miscarriages and things, and it's heartbreaking, So it's like it's a bit of a weird one for comedy or whatever. But I think the point of comedy is to push against these taboos and stuff, and see what you can laugh at and things. So yeah,
I think they accomplished that.
Yeah, and also just because you've got the wrestling stuff, and I don't think it's any worse than some of the stuff that happened in the early 2000s in WWE with the necrophilia storyline and the
giving birth to a hand.
Giving birth. Is it Mae Young giving birth to a hand?
Mae Young.
Yes. Yeah. And powerbombing her through a table and stuff.
Oh, but that was great. At the end of the day, Bubba Ray took that entire bump himself.
I mean, I know that Vince Russo didn't write it and wasn't working there at the time, but that bloody Vince Russo, his fault.
Speaking of wrestling, as this thing is being recorded, it's the eve of AEW.
Yeah.
You going to be watching it?
Yeah, I will do. It's actually on telly.
Yeah, ITV Hub or ITV4 or something.
I'll probably just watch it through the Fire Stick thing. But yeah, I mean, it's a wrestling show on broadcast TV, which we've not had really. Well, they did that one for a bit, the British one, that was a bit crap. Well, it was very crap, actually.
It was, unfortunate. But I will. I think I will give it a go. I am very much a lapsed wrestling fan these days. I retain an interest, but that's about it. But just for the news side of things, I think I'll give it a go.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it. I'll watch Wrestle Kingdom, and I think I watched WrestleMania this year.
We watched WrestleMania.
Yeah. So I think that's... Oh, no, I did watch one of the AEW ones. It wasn't...
Yeah, we watched the one with Cody Rhodes versus Dustin.
That was really good. Yeah. If AEW is more like that and less like the stupid stuff with that... Oh, what's his name? I can't remember his name. The guy who basically staples shit onto himself. I hate that shit. Really do. Joey Janela.
Yeah.
Joey Janela?
Yeah.
Yeah, all that.
Joey Janela.
Yeah, that can fuck right off, to be honest. It looks dumb. So.
Yeah, but then there's Orange Cassidy as well.
Oh, he can fuck off for it as well. He's the guy who runs around with his hands in his pockets.
Yeah.
What's the point in him?
That's the one.
Really?
Do you remember that episode of The Simpsons with Poochie?
Yes.
That's Orange Cassidy.
Yeah. I'm sure as a performer he's fine, but it's that.
I'm sure he's a lovely person.
Yeah, I'm sure he's a great guy. I'm sure, whatever. Disclaimer. But
that gimmick can piss off.
It's just dumb, isn't it? It's I think there's enough dumb crap on the WWE thing. I think if you want in a new competition, don't do the dumb stuff. Like, you can do comedy. Comedy's fine.
He's the sort of person to having a special event or something, but that's it, really.
Even then.
He can't go in ladder matches.
Yes.
In fact, I want to see Orange Cassidy in a ladder match.
You've turned me round. Yes. Okay. I would pay to see that. Yep. No, you've won me over, Colin. Say I don't want dumb stuff, but the guy, they should have him and the amputee guy doing a ladder match. That would be good. That's money. Money, baby. The Orange Cassidy thing would only work for me if it was a thing where he got in the ring with like a main eventer, started doing that bullshit with the hands in the pockets, and then I just clocked him one and won. You know, it was basically a 50-second squash match.
Could you see Orange Cassidy beating Puck?
He's a dumb character. It's like I couldn't even see him beat Freight Train, and that's. I don't know. Freight Train was the $5 wrestling champion.
He was a legend, and he went choo choo.
I mix $5 wrestling.
Do you reckon he got the American equivalent of U-Trade?
Oh, I don't know.
I hope not.
I like to think he's still riding the South Carolina circuit, or it was.
And then you've got poor Colt Cabana, who's just been fucked over completely by CM Punk. But that's for another day.
Yep. We'll do episode 3 next. You fancy doing that one?
I could be persuaded.
Okay.
And when I say that, that's me trying to be cool, but saying, yes, please, let's do episode 3.
Okay. I don't want any vagueness or, I don't know. You know, just be assertive and firm.
You sound like my manager at work. Give yourself a Geordie accent, take 10 years off yourself and change yourself to a woman's name and gender, and you could be my manager.
A woman's gender?
Yes.
Okay.
Anything you want to plug? Have you written a book?
I've written several. I did have a book.
Okay. Right, I'm sure it's on the internet somewhere. Go and buy it.
No, don't, because you'll ruin my also boughts. I don't want AJ Lee's autobiography appearing on my also boughts.
Right, sorted. In that case, let's wrap it up. Goodbye, John.
Okay, Colin. Have fun, and I will see you soon.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.